I'm Melissa Ginto, and this is my Truman Elementary School case study, Module 15. What I know about the school is that Truman Elementary School is a pre-K to 8 school. The school is one of 6 in the district that K to 4 students attend. And Truman Elementary has 700 students and 3 classes at each grade level, so it's a fairly large elementary school. 15% of the school students qualify for free or reduced lunch, and 5% of the school students are second language learners. Additionally, Truman Elementary School's reading scores have decreased over the last 3 years. The cohort data confirms that students actually lose ground in reading year by year, and parents are upset and may believe that reading is not even being taught at Truman Elementary School anymore. Students receive about 1 hour a day of literacy instruction, which I think we can all agree is just not enough. Additionally, teachers are primarily using basals and whole group instruction during literacy lessons and are not differentiating said instruction. Parents are concerned about the methods that teachers are using and their children's reading outcomes. The State Department of Education has made a grant available to support eligible districts in addressing reading issues, and so Truman Elementary will be applying for one of those grants. So what I need to know about the demographic. Has the demographic of the school shifted in the past 3 years? Is there a particular demographic that's performing at lower levels? Is there one that's performing at higher levels? What was typical yearly progress prior to 3 years ago? And how has the school's literacy program changed in the past 3 years? Is the curriculum outdated? Do we need to purchase an updated reading program or implement different instructional strategies to meet the Common Core standards that are being assessed on those standards-based testing? I also need to know the input from teachers. What input do they have about the reading curriculum and the instruction that they're providing? What challenges have they faced in the last 3 years? What type of professional development have they participated in? Have there been changes to the formal assessment or how that assessment is administered in the past 3 years? For example, have they moved from a paper test to a computer-based one? Have any of the other schools in the district experienced a drop in their reading scores during the same time period? Are there any schools whose scores have increased? Has the issue been considered at the district level? Has there been any intervention from district administrators? And what is the PTO's understanding of the issue? And what data are they being presented with and being given, and by whom? So the problem as I see it is that both perception data and the data from standardized tests indicate a weakness in reading instruction as compared to math and growth among students at Truman Elementary School. Reading instruction in the elementary school has relied heavily on basal reading program with whole group instruction and very little regular differentiation, which is quite honestly just a very outdated methodology. And parents are concerned about those student outcomes and how their students are being instructed. The plan of action. So I'm going to contact district administration first, or the superintendent, to discuss the issue and see what's going on their side of the issue. I will compare Truman Elementary's data with that of the other schools in the district and note gaps in the achievement of our students. I'll meet with teachers and building leadership to discuss achievement data and to gather their input. I'll create a literacy team with teacher representatives from each level, like lead teachers, the instructional coach, and administration to research reading programs or curriculum and literacy best practices. I'll create a formal assessment cycle for teachers to use with students and an actual data binder for them to keep on each student so they can monitor that progress. We'll schedule professional development that's centered on literacy practices regularly. This will be school-wide, it'll be a long-term focus, and we'll also do that at the grade level PLC time weekly. We will write the grant proposal with teacher leaders and instructional coach contributing input for that. And then we'll inform the parents and the community stakeholders of Truman Elementary School's improvement plan. We'll do this via email, a PTA meeting, regular progress reports. We'll strive for transparency. If the grant proposal is accepted, we'll purchase new curriculum or resources. We will track students' reading scores and growth and identify teachers who have successfully implemented these new practices, and then we'll remediate or provide mentoring for teachers who need some extra support on that. With the staff, we'll reflect on literacy practices that are producing outcomes, what's working, what's not working, what we could spend more time on. and also ascertain whether there are additional professional development opportunities available. So my strategies for implementation: first, I'll discuss the instructional or curricular changes with district level administration. I'll provide professional development, including whole staff, specific grade levels, and individual teachers. I'll continue to collect, disaggregate, and discuss data in order to inform the instruction. We'll provide parents and guardians feedback on processes and on the outcomes of their students, as well as the progress. And then if the State Department of Education money is granted, we'll provide reflection and outcome data as needed for that program. So resolving the issues in light of striving for success of all students. Providing professional development, which focuses on best practices and strategies for literacy, will impact every student in the school. An improved curriculum or literacy practice will allow for differentiation, so advanced students will no longer be bored and struggling students' needs will be addressed. A school-wide long-term focus, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, long-term focus on literacy will allow teachers more time for literacy instruction and increase test scores in all students. The grant money we receive, if we receive it, will directly impact teacher and student access to resources such as books, magazines, apps, technology. Regular literacy progress reports for all students will increase parent involvement and understanding. Creating and discussing literacy goals with individual students creates agency and initiative in them and helps them to take some responsibility for their own learning as well, even from a young age. Administrative and district oversight of the program creates accountability for the outcomes. So my concerns, my biggest concern is the teacher's lack of basic understanding of a blended, or what we call a balanced, literacy model, and their reliance upon a BASIL for the majority of instruction is disconcerting to me. The lack of differentiation and explicit instruction regarding reading strategies, we know that kids need that explicit instruction. And the instructional coach's awareness or lack thereof of the literacy practices and paradigms within the school is of a bit of concern for me, as I wonder what the instructional coach has been doing, where he or she has been spending her time, and if they've been visiting classrooms or not. And then literacy growth that's not addressed until the PTO brought attention to it, that is a major concern to me, because we should not have to wait for the PTO to notice something before we are on it and responding to it. I also have concern about the school's use of data and the teacher time for data discussions. We all know as teachers that we are privy to a lot of data and not a lot of time to actually look it over and see how we can use it to inform our instruction. So I'm wondering if that's the case in this situation. I'm concerned about the teaching schedule. 1 hour for literacy is simply not sufficient. I'm also concerned because it seems like there's tension among stakeholders, and I wonder if this is due to lack of communication, lack of transparency. So I would address that. Parents' perception that reading and spelling are not being taught, like not at all being taught, is of concern. Additionally, the role of the principal, he or she is new in the past 2 years, and I'm wondering how they have transitioned, whether they're doing regular walkthroughs, what the relationship is like with the teachers, etc. And then I'm very concerned overall just that a disservice is being done to the students because research regarding those who fall behind in reading indicates over and over again that it is very hard to get caught up, and that kind of funnels them into a future that might be a little bit more limited than it should be had they had solid instruction. So my reflections on Standard 8. When presented with perception data, which is that PTO letter, I took steps to determine if the concern was valid, including comparing data between the schools, engaging the insight and expertise of school instructional coaches, and determining strategies. To facilitate more open dialogue, I sought the feedback of parents and stakeholders, as well as teachers and other district administrators. I created an instructional team with lead teachers and the instructional coach. And in addressing the reading scores of those who are falling behind, we also addressed those who are not being challenged and focused on helping each student to achieve to his or her potential. In setting up regular progress reports and communication with parents and guardians, I opened the door for further feedback and engagement with Truman Elementary School stakeholders. And I applied for a grant in order to fund any curriculum changes, any professional development, or other resources necessary to just improve those reading outcomes. I also created a data assessment cycle with multiple measures of assessment to guide teachers and to keep both parents and the district officials apprised of the student growth. So in addressing the literacy needs of our students, I also created a school environment that's data-driven, that's collaborative. We're working together to address the issues. We're reflective about our practices, and we're communicative with both our challenges and our successes with parents, with the administration, with other stakeholders in the community. So that is my reflection on Truman Elementary School's literacy issue. Thank you.